I remember in second grade, I was on the blacktop and, people were playing basketball and I was just drawing my comic book. And I remember wanting so badly to be in this world. I wanted so badly to be with my characters. And then in 2016, when the software Quill came out, when I've been working in VR, then this program where you could paint in virtual reality came in. And so when I did my first character, I'm standing next to Mara, looking at her eye to eye.
Oh wow.
I went back to that moment when I was in second grade and I just freaked out. I was like, this is it. This is the future where you are now in the presence of your creation. No longer are you separated between a screen and yourself.
Yeah.
You're now there. And I was like, I've got to stop everything I'm doing and I've got to learn this.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
When you say stop everything you're doing, you quit school as well? Or?
No, I was a creative director for a virtual reality company already, and I was doing all the commercials, music videos, you name it. I was doing stuff. I was doing a commercial for Nickelodeon and McDonald's, all but not virtual reality. It's 360 video. So we were using the Google Jump camera that had like 30 GoPros, all in a circle, and it was crazy. It was a lot of fun. But when I was editing, I would put on the Oculus and then edit and stitch all like the it was a lot of work, and it wasn't virtual reality, because the moment you move your head forward, the whole scene moved with you. You're not immersed in it, right? And so we were going to pitches. We were pitching new shows in 360 video. And I kept going to we went to NBC, we went to these, Fox, we went to these big companies, and they were all like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And all their ideas, we couldn't do in 360 video. I knew there was something missing from the public because it was so brand new in the technology. And so I knew that there was a bubble happening with 360 video. You can't, it's not that fun. It's almost a separation from immersion, And so so when I saw the 3D printing this animating software Quill, where you could move around, I could walk around, I could make a whole scene where you could walk, you could jump through portals. I was like, that's virtual reality. So me and my CEO kind of split ways because he kind of messed with me, and I was like, okay, since I do everything anyway, I'm just going to do this myself. And so I started NightMara on Instagram and just kept doing that.
When was the first time that you tried VR?
It was,
because for me, VR started with Quest 2, right? And I did a PlayStation before once, and I was like, okay, this is really crap. I'll come back in 20 years when it's good. And then Quest 2, I was like, okay, I'm blown away. I tried it, instantly bought, and I started, right? So I'm curious, when did you start it? Because that must have been way before, right?
Yeah, it's a really crazy story how I got into VR. So I told you how my dad is kind of the businessman gift of gab. He loves networking. He loves making deals, right? Mm-hmm. He was on a plane and he met this girl and they just were talking nonstop and they missed their flight. And she happened to work for this company called Next VR. This is in 2014. Next VR had a deal with the NBA to shoot their 360 video footage of a game on the sidelines so that you put a headset on and you're right there watching the game, right? My dad lands from the plane. He calls me instantly because I was working in TV development at the time. He calls me, he goes, Gian, I met this girl. She works for this company, Next VR. You've got to call her right now. And I was like, all right. So I give this girl a call, Helen Situ. And I was like, I would love to see what you guys are doing. So this is 2014. She flew she was down in Laguna Beach. That was their headquarters. And at the time, it was only using the Samsung Galaxy phone connected into a headset, or it was the Google Cardboard. So it was a piece of cardboard that you slid your phone into. And so I go to this company, I put on their headset, they show me an NBA game, and I'm like, oh, fuck, this is the future. This is the future. No longer, it's I kind of got the memory of when I was a kid and I'd watch those old black and white movies from my mom and dad time. And even as a kid, I was like, that's too old for me. Even as a kid, I knew it. And so when I saw this, I'm like, this is where we're going. And they showed me like a Formula One race. We're in the pit crew where the car literally goes, whoosh, and you're like, what the fuck? And they're, doing all the tires and all this stuff, and it zooms away. And I take it off, and I'm like, I got to get in here. I got to do this somehow, right? And so then about 6 months later, my dad's on another flight, and he meets a producer, and they're talking on the flight. And my dad goes, "Oh, my son's in VR, you got to talk to my son." And I'm not at the time, but hey, you gotta lie to get there. And so my dad lands. He goes, "You got to call this producer. He wants to see this VR stuff. Put together a meeting with him and Next VR." So I call Next VR. I set up a meeting. This is about the beginning of 2015. The producer comes down, and I'm in this meeting. I'm schmoozing everybody. I'm going, this is the future. You got to get in this thing, blah, blah, blah. And the head of Next VR, the CEO, goes, "Hey, do you need a job? Like, I'll hire you. You're marketing our product better than we are, And so we split ways. The producer flies back to Sweden. He's from Sweden. And I'm not thinking anything of it. My mind's still racing with everything. I'm still working in television production, just doing pitches and stuff like that. I get a call 6 months later that he's moving. The producer from Sweden is moving his entire family and wants to start a VR company, and he wants me to creative direct it. And so I'm like, yeah. So I quit my job, and we did our first job in 2016 was a McDonald's commercial and we were using the Google Jump camera that was like the 30 cameras. And so it was a crazy experience because this is my first job. I'm the VR consultant. So I'm like, I had to wire up all these different rigs. Like I had remember the Samsung, there's a 360 camera, like a little ball. And yeah. I attached it underneath the Google Jump camera because I could record from my phone, because in the Google Jump camera, you can't see what you're recording. So I had to put the little camera on top as FR monitor. So I would be like, we'd be hiding behind a table, and it was the camera, this big, really cool 360 camera was on a remote control car. So we had our cinematographer. She was like a really big 360 VR cinematographer. Her name's Celine Tricart. She dressed as a McDonald's employee. She had like a visor. She had like the apron, and she was a cashier, but she was really driving the 360 video camera. And so then it just kept leaping from there. We did that. It got like 1.5 million views on Facebook in like the first week. And nice. Then Nickelodeon hired us to do something for them, and then Wiz Khalifa, and then it was just like, it kind of just, but it was all 360 video. There was still a separation. It still wasn't like, it was cool, but I knew it wasn't like the really amazing immersion that I needed,
Yeah, it was limited.
Yeah, very much.
And yeah, it's so interesting to see how life is like just moving along with you, like if you follow the steps and you're going for it. It's so cool to see that, especially working for such a big companies, creating these experiences for them. It must have been,
and not knowing,
quite some pressure
and really,
as well.
and really not being able to find something in the past to go, okay, that's how they did it.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to do it.
Exactly.
We had a split screen 360. So one side was one scene, and the other side was another scene. It was crazy. I had to edit this. Like, it was nuts. And I just knew that I'll figure it out. I'll learn it. So I know that being an artist, part of the process is patience. Like, if you don't have patience, you can't be an artist. And so like, I knew that if I fall into a trouble, I'm going to figure it out. There's always an answer. It always will somehow turn out if I just keep trying to find the answer,